exhilarating.
There are no rules but one. Drink Jägermeister at minus 18 degrees Celsius.
And I mentioned the intro to these two dinosaurs, sinosauropteryx and Giganotoraptor. And sinosauropteryx provided crucial evidence for the existence of feathers in non-avian dinosaurs, and Giganotoraptor, massive feather dinosaur that challenged previous assumptions about dinosaur size. And this was a major breakthrough, right, in understanding of prehistoric world. And when you made these discoveries, did you have a hunch that this could be a paradigm shift, actually? Could you guess they will reshape our conception of dinosaurs today?
Oh, certainly a paradigm shift in my thinking. I guess I was one of those people who grew up with the idea that dinosaurs came from anywhere, or sorry, birds came from anywhere but dinosaurs. And that was the conventional thinking when I grew up. And, you know, it's really funny by being a scientist, just how much prejudice you end up picking up from old ideas. And the old ideas are very prevalent in your education, of course. And to try and shift to a new idea is sometimes very difficult. So with sinosauropteryx, I got to work on that specimen, see it when it was first announced, the discovery of it in Beijing. And more relevant to me, though, was captivated, which is really the second feathered dinosaur, which was the one I was more involved with. And captivated was more advanced in its feather structure than sinosauropteryx. And there was absolutely no question that its specimen, or a series of specimens, rather, that are intermediate between birds and dinosaurs. I mean, it was such that as we looked at the specimen, we realized that there were characters there that dinosaurs had that birds were not supposed to have. And yet there they were. So in a way, we had to make a hard decision as to whether this thing was dinosaur in a typical sense, non-avian dinosaur, or whether it was in fact a bird. And to many people, the feathers were so bird-like, there was absolutely no question that this was related to modern birds at some stage. But whether you called it a dinosaur or a bird really didn't matter. And so for me, it was really pivotal in my thinking, much more than sinosauropteryx, because there you had an animal with osteological or bony characters that clearly showed it was a dinosaur. And yet you had feathers that were exactly the same as modern bird feathers, flight feathers or tail feathers or whatever. And so it didn't matter what you called it, it was intermediate, period. And so that one was pretty amazing. What I didn't expect was that there would be so much controversy surrounding it. And of course, around that time, there were people who were still very adamant that birds could not come from dinosaurs. And in fact, a book on the origin of birds had just been discovered, or just printed a little bit earlier that summer. And so the person had a big stake in this, and consequently didn't want to see evidence come out that these were in fact feathers on a bird. So there were some pretty incredible things said, such as, for example, that it was actually a dinosaur skeleton that a bird had been crushed on top of. And so the feathers belonged to a bird, and then the skeleton belonged to a dinosaur. Well, that's kind of silly. And then with sinosauropteryx, the argument was that the feathers were in fact not feathers, but that was collagen fibers inside the skin of the animal. But of course, the great thing was from that time period is that the Chinese were discovering so many good specimens in northeastern China that we very soon had not just sinosauropteryx and captivated and proto-archaeopteryx. We had almost a dozen different species of dinosaurs or early birds, even more so. And they all showed exactly the same thing you would expect to see in a series of specimens leading from one group of animals into another, in fact, in evolving. So the argument started to become a little bit thin that
Bird collapsed into
can't be birds.
Yeah, but like you said, to all those prejudices, how did you fight all those controversies? Because it seems the reaction of the community, or at least part of the community, was harsh.
And how long did it take for it to be like accepted as something that is valid?
Well, sinosauropteryx was found, of course, in 1996. And we published the paper on captivated in 1998. So things were really hot between those two periods.
We stay genuine, uncensored, and unscripted, and we always will, as we have to order our usual. Share us and subscribe us, and stay tuned until the next Wednesday. Iguzo!